The Clinton campaign did not release the video of Hillary's discussion with the Black Lives Matter folks. And you know, we had a caller in the last hour who called and was concerned about it. I don't know if that's the right word. And you know, I find myself in this weird position. I'll just lay this out. I want to be as completely transparent with you as I possibly can be. Because Bernie's been on this show every Friday for over a decade, and because I've come out and said that, you know, I'm essentially endorsing him. He's my first choice for the Democratic nominee for president. He's my first choice for president. That said, and I say it very clearly, if Hillary Clinton is the nominee, or frankly anybody else, you know, Lincoln Chafee, Martin O'Malley, Jim Webb, might be a little more difficult for me, but whoever else is the Democratic nominee, the Supreme Court's at stake here. If nothing else, I will do everything I can to get that person elected. You know, within law and reason. But because I have been so outspoken in my affiliation with Bernie, for lack of a better word, and I don't, you know, there's no official affiliation, of course. I mean, he's just been a regular guest on our program. Whenever I talk about Hillary Clinton, if it's not in the most glowing of terms, I get just bombarded, whether it's in email or to the Twitter sphere or callers or whatever, just bombarded with people who are Hillary supporters who are taking offense and who are like, how dare you? And most of the time I'm really not trying to say, hey, wait a minute, Hillary isn't as good as Bernie, and here's why. I shy away from those comparisons for that reason. You know, I do not want to wound Hillary Clinton. If she is the nominee of this party, of the Democratic Party, I want her going into the general election to be strong enough to absolutely kick Scott Walker's butt, or Marco Rubio, or Donald Trump, or who. Well, you know, our new dog could kick Donald Trump's butt, but you know, any of the others. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I take Donald Trump actually quite seriously. It's very easy to joke about him. I don't think we should be. But because whenever I talk about Hillary, it's perceived as Tom's bashing Hillary, I didn't even ask Jim and Shano this morning to go through the video that was released by Black Lives Matter of the dialogue, the private dialogue that they had with Hillary when she was in wherever she was, you know, last week. Because it's not all that flattering to her, in my opinion. Now, maybe a Hillary supporter would think it was brilliant. I mean, basically they come to her and they say, you know, we've got a problem. We got a problem with systemic racism. We've got a problem with black people in this country basically living in a terror zone. And then she gives them this fairly long speech. I mean, it runs 3 or 4 minutes. Where she says, you know, if you want to have political impact, if you want to be consequent, and I mean, I'm paraphrasing all of this from memory, and I've only watched these videos once, but that was 5 hours ago, so it's fairly fresh in my mind. And she's saying basically, if you want to have influence on the political process, it's not enough simply to yell. It's not enough simply to complain. She said, you've done a great job of chronicling the crisis within the black community in America. You've done a great job of chronicling the fear, the terror, the pain that the African American community in this country experiences on a daily basis. But if you're going to come to me, Hillary is saying, or to any presidential candidate, any serious politician, anybody who can actually do something about it, then you really need to bring a list of action steps. What is it that you would want me as president to do? And lobby for those. Well, the protesters didn't take that so well. You know, one of them said, wait a minute, you're victim shaming and you know, basically, you know, that's not our job. You know, we are the protesters. We are not the legislators. And the discussion didn't even reach that kind of high level. It was just, you know, it struck me as Hillary being, let me rephrase that. I think it would strike a lot of people, particularly people of color, as Hillary being patronizing. Now, I've been in the room with Hillary Clinton. I've heard her speak. This was back when she was in the Senate, and it was Hillary and Barbara Boxer was there, Bernie was there, Chuck Schumer was there. It was a bunch of people in the Senate who got together with about, 10 or 15 of us who were progressive talk show hosts. And we had an afternoon kind of summit meeting over at the Capitol building. And they just gave a little talk. So, I've been in the room with her, shook her hand, talked with her, met with her, but I just got kicked out of the chat room. You might want to check and make sure that is the internet down? Okay. So we just lost all our calls too. Anyhow, I'll finish my rant. Thank you, Comcast. Why do they kill us when we're on the air? Maybe it's because I keep talking about them. Anyway, I can see where somebody might feel dissed or offended, but I think that Hillary is just such a wonk. She's such a political wonk. Politics has been her life since 1964, when the same year that I went door to door with my dad. I was 13 for Barry Goldwater. She was 16. She's a couple years older than I am. 17, something like that. She was out going door to door for Barry Goldwater too. Barry Goldwater energized a lot of idealists, at least a lot of white idealists, and who didn't really understand the whole profile of everything that's going on in the United States, particularly with people of color, which I think was me and Hillary when we were teenagers. And she's been a wonk ever since. As First Lady, she tried to completely rewrite the healthcare system of the United States. That's huge. So when I was watching the video, I was watching it with kind of two brains at the same time. I'm going to bomb out of the call screen software right now, by the way, so that you and Danielle can reboot everything when the internet comes back up again. If you've called in and you got dumped because Comcast just killed our internet service here for a little bit, and apparently it's still down, just call back. But anyhow, I was looking at this with two minds. One was the political wonk, which I am. I do this myself. People will call up and go, I'm really upset about XYZ, and I'll say, well, here's what you should do about that. And they never ask me to tell them what to do about it. It's just like it's the wonky impulse. It makes me a decent talk radio host, but I'll tell you that there are times when my wife wishes I wasn't. We'll be sitting with some people and they'll say, I had a problem with my water hose last week. And I'm like, Tom, the expert on everything. Oh, well, I know what you should do with that. You should put frost-free, taps on your, and Louise says, do you have to be an expert on everything? Sorry. I think that's what Hillary was doing. I think she was making a genuine attempt to genuinely offer advice to a movement that has incredible potential. And she was essentially saying, if you want to get the level of success that Martin Luther King got, if you want to get the level of success that Jesse Jackson got, if you want to get the level of success that Julian Bond got, or that Andrew Young got, here's what you have to do. And I didn't take it as condescending at all. But again, I'm looking at this as a white guy who is a politics and policy wonk. And Hillary is white, and she's a policy and politics wonk. And so the other brain of me is looking at this with what understanding I have of how black people live in this country, going, wait a minute, that sounds condescending.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And so I think it's really easy, and there must have been a huge debate in Hillary's camp about whether they wanted to release this video, and Black Lives Matter ended up releasing it themselves.